Hi, welcome to the episode 6 of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I am Jessica Lorimer, and I'm really excited to do another live coaching session with one of my favorite people, coaches, colleagues, mentees, Hannah Williams. So welcome, Hannah.
Hello, hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. We just had a really nice discussion. For those of you who, obviously weren't on our Zoom call before we started recording the podcast, we're just talking about the London Marathon because Hannah has apparently run it twice, which I think is way more interesting than the usual stories that people give, when they're introducing themselves on podcasts. So Hannah's actually run the marathon twice, and I have entered this year as part of a joke with my friends, which I'm now having to actually go through with. And I'm a bit concerned, if I'm honest, because yesterday a parcel turned up for Sam that was his rejection letter from the marathon. I'm literally going to call it. It's a rejection marathon letter.
It is, and he should take it as such as well.
Exactly. The marathon have rejected you. They do not want you running. Yeah. And I was waiting for mine, and it hasn't arrived. So I'm a little bit concerned that I may have to run the marathon. But it is okay because Hannah has entered too. So it could be that you see us in April next year running the marathon together. There you go.
That would be quite a story, wouldn't it?
Okay. See, fun fact. But anyway, give us the official intro, Hannah. Tell us about you. Tell us what you do.
So I've been running my business since the beginning of this year. My background is very much kind of corporate. I spent 17 years in the sort of corporate financial world and basically got to a point where I was desperate for freedom. I was desperate for a change. I wanted to run my own business. I wanted to travel, all the sort of stuff that you hear so much from people who've left that world and want to make something for themselves, create something for themselves. So I started my business at the beginning of this year. I am a success coach and a mindset mentor. Bit of a mouthful, there you go. And effectively what I really, when I first started working in my business, I was very much looking at this kind of business in a box model that, has been really successful, and it's, lots of really great people in that space, but kind of trying to cover all the different bases. And what I discovered as I went through that journey was actually what really excited me and what I was really good at, and my zone of genius was actually looking at the mindset, the motivation, the fears and the blocks, and the things that hold all of us back. We all have those things to a certain greater or lesser extent. The things that hold us back from going after what it is that we want, whether it's fear of visibility, fear of what other people are going to think, feelings of not feeling good enough, pretty enough, skinny enough, insert adjective here, enough, whatever it might be. And so now I basically, I've really zoned in and I've gone really deep on this idea of what is it that's stopping people from moving forward with a focus on action. So I'm all about the action. So when I talk about mindset, a lot of people sometimes have a bit of an idea of, mindset, that's a load of woo-woo, fluffy bullshit, whatever it might be. Am I allowed to swear on this, by the way? I didn't even ask.
Yeah, take it away.
So I should be careful with that. So a lot of people sort of hear the word mindset and they think, that's a load of, woo-woo bollocks. It doesn't actually mean anything. The focus that I have is very much on the action. It's like we can all talk about our blocks and our fears and our beliefs as much as we want, and then we can sit back, cross our fingers, close our eyes really tight and kind of hope that everything happens. It's not going to.
Yeah. It's funny because mindset does conjure that connotation up sometimes. I mean, one of my good friends, Heather Gray, who you also know, she calls it kumbayaing. She's like, people just think they can kumbaya their way through life, and that doesn't happen. And it's so true. It's so true because ultimately mindset is it's a double-edged sword, I think, in the online world. Like, I genuinely never heard of mindset when I was in the corporate world. If you'd have been like, I'm just going to go do some affirmations or something, people would have literally taken me outside and said, do you need to go and see somebody? Do you need to have a chat? Are things okay? And it was only when I came into the online space that actually people who specialize in mindset, I was like, now I understand what it's about. And it's all about that inspired action piece rather than necessarily the think that something's going to happen and hope that it does. You get to put yourself in the right frame of mind, and then you get to take the action that makes it happen.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it. I love that. Yeah. So tell us something fun about you. I mean, apart from the marathon, because you've had that one now.
That was the one I was going to use. Something fun about me. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think now. You put me on the spot. Well, I'm sort of I'm kind of heading into your stereotypical kind of 30-something cat lady, essentially. So I live on my own at the moment, and I'm a mummy to 2 cats. And one of them is very stupid, and the other is slightly less stupid.
Okay.
But they're both incredibly stupid. So I'm sort of at the moment, what was really incredible. My birthday was a few weeks ago now, and I think 95% of the presents that I received from my friends were cat related. And it was at that moment that I started to think, maybe there's a bit of an issue going on here. I got a stone cat. I got cards with cats all over them. I got a cat coaster. Someone bought me a cat cushion. And you kind of get to a point where you think, right, I really need to kind of expand beyond this mad cat lady persona that I seem to have. I suppose if you ask a lot of my friends what is Hannah about, they will obviously say, oh, she's amazing, she's a great friend and all that sort of stuff, but mainly cats.
It's so good, isn't it? Yeah, but animals are the best. Yeah. I'm like you. I have a Chihuahua called Max, and he is like the center of the world that I live in, and so people have bought me little signs. So for my birthday, Sam's mum got me a sign that says, "You can live life without a Chihuahua, but why would you want to?" And so I've stuck it on Max's bed because I think it's quite nice. I think it's quite nice. It makes Max feel loved. But yeah, I think animals are a good thing. People who like animals are the best kind of people.
Never trust people who don't like cats, as far as I'm concerned, or dogs.
Yeah. I was like, some people say to me, you're either a cat or a dog person. I'm like, I'm an all person. I'm like, I want cats and dogs. Sam is a lucky man. So let's dive into today, because you have a really, really juicy question, which I'm actually very excited about, because, and everybody knows this, when I have been asking people to come to the podcast and talk about their biggest sales question or the thing that they are currently experiencing and agreed to be kind of live coached by me, I haven't really specified anything. I've literally just said, what is your biggest sales question? And Hannah's come out with a really juicy one right from the get-go.
Okay.
Take it away.
So my question, a little bit of background. So when I first started, or when we sort of first started working together, so I was in your community for a little while and then got more involved. And I was trying to sort of put offers out to my community. And so one of the things that I did was that I was asking my community, what do you want? What would be helpful for you? And I was getting really great feedback, lots of people getting involved. But then when I would then create something that was in line with the feedback that I'd been given, what they wanted and what they would help them and what would move them forward towards their goal, I was then getting frustrated because very few people were actually buying what I was putting together for them. So I was creating this content based on their needs, and then nobody was taking me up on it. And one of the first conversations we had was that you told me it seemed my community wasn't trained to buy from me. And so that really kind of struck a chord with me, and I hadn't even ever thought about it that way. So I suppose my question would be, if you're just starting out and you're starting your business, how do you make sure that you build a community of people who are trained to buy from you? They're trained from the outset, and that's what happens. And then the second follow-up part to that question is, if you've got yourself into that situation where you have a community already who have trained themselves not to buy from you or are trained not to buy from you, how do you turn it around?
See, I told you your question was juicy. And also, I like that you snuck in the 2-in-1. You're like, pow, pow. It's like,
oh, yeah, well.
2 questions in one, Hannah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like it. I think, so there are 2 parts to this, and we'll do the first bit around, your community, training your community to buy first, because let's kind of get really transparent about this. I would say put your hands up if you've ever experienced this, but I realize people are listening on a podcast, and if you're on a train, putting your hand up to be like, oh, this has happened to me too, could be a little bit awkward. So I won't get you to do that. But I think everybody has been in a situation in their business where they have a great idea and they validate it with their audience, and they say, have you got a problem with, let's say, list building, for example? And like 100 people go, yes, I've got a big problem with list building, solve my problem. And literally a day later, you put out a product about list building and everyone's like running away. You know, they're headed to the hills. It's literally like you've threatened to stick an electric probe in their ear or something. You know, they're off. And I think there are two reasons for it. One is that the online world has perpetuated the culture of freeple. I don't know who came up with that term. I think it's great. I also like the one where you people who all follow each other and all do the same things. It's called sheeple.
Yeah, love it.
Before I came into the online world, I was like, I didn't know any of this. But I think we've perpetuated a culture of freeple. Now, that isn't a negative thing, right? For me, I firmly believe in giving value in my business, and there are people who will never buy from me in my tribe. And that's fine, because those people will go out and they'll be like messengers. And they'll tell everybody else, if you want anything with sales, go talk to Jess. She's really great. You know, probably talk about my dog. So it's all good. But the general online space hasn't become like that. And what we're seeing is that people are going into tens of hundreds of Facebook groups and they're consuming content constantly. Like they're not actually doing anything with it. They're just, I'm in here because I'm going to consume some content about sales. Then I'm going to nip into Hannah's group and I'm going to consume some content about mindset. And they're so busy consuming everything, they never actually action anything. And that's one of the reasons that people don't buy. Because when you're putting out your offer, they're off consuming something else. And they've got webinars on the go and PDFs to download and all this kind of thing. And again, it's their choice. If they don't want to take action, you can't, you know, short of like going to the house and blindfolding them and, you know, doing some very not necessarily easy activities. There's nothing you can really
do. There's a really dark side to you there, Jess.
No, I was like, wow, where am I going with this? Maybe that's one for the edits. No?
I'm never pissing you off, God.
On my bad side. I know all the tricks. But, you know, I think that's one of the reasons people don't buy, because they're consuming constantly and they don't understand the difference between consuming and investing. When you consume free information, let's be honest, you don't really give it the attention that it deserves, and you don't actually prioritize it as something to implement because you're like, oh, well, it's free. You know, I do this all the time. So it's perfectly normal. You know, there's no judgment around it. It's just that we don't prioritize it. The second thing is, or the second reason is that people don't train their audiences to buy. You know, we're so obsessed with being seen to give value all the time that we take value as being quantity rather than quality. Now, it doesn't mean that you put out a ton of content that some of it's crap, obviously, but it does mean that we are constantly teaching our audience to be like baby birds, you know, and that's what I call it, baby bird syndrome. So basically, we're always turning up in our Facebook groups or to our email list, and we're kind of dropping information into their mouths, and we're like, oh, you're hungry, you need a worm, have this worm, just like a mama bird would be. The problem is, eventually the mama bird pushes the babies out of the nest and they learn to fly. What tends to happen in Facebook groups is that we're like, oh, if we sell, we get crickets, right? We get crickets because we haven't normalized selling in our communities. So it's this kind of vicious circle. You're going to end up with 80-year-old baby birds in your community because they have never been pushed out of the nest. So we have to train them early. We have to start normalizing selling and help your community understand that free value is great. And absolutely, if you action it and you implement it, you can get results. However, that very much depends on the kind of person that you are, you know, whether you're self-motivated enough to actually take the information and use it and implement it, and whether you honestly value it enough to go away and do that. And if you don't, if you're the kind of person, again, like me, who needs accountability, who needs feedback, who likes to be kept on track with things, you need to hire a coach, right? You need to buy the program. You need to pay for whatever it is that is going to help you get to your goal. As coaches or consultants or anybody in a service-based industry, we need to normalize the way that we discuss that. Yes, you can use my free content. Yes, if you are this kind of person and you action it and implement it, it can get you where you need to be. If you are not that kind of person, or you want results quicker, easier, you want to, learn from the mistakes that I've made so that you don't have to do that, this is the paid option. It really is that simple. And doing it early, not waiting 6 months after you've given a ton of value and a ton of webinars, and then you sell and your whole community leaves because they're freaking out that you want them to pay you for things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does make sense. And I think, we've spoken about this particularly over the last few weeks as well in our calls. And what I really like about what you said there, and what is absolutely true, and I'll put my hand up and be one of the first to say that this used to be me, that the idea of selling and the idea of asking for money, especially when you're first starting out in your business and you want to provide the value and you don't want to be seen as spammy, and you don't want to be seen as just another person who's asking people to throw money at you, you can almost go the other way, I think. And therefore, you, rather than selling the appropriate amount of time and providing the appropriate amount of value, you end up not doing it at all because you've gone so completely to the other end of the spectrum. And then, like you say, that then trains your community that they can, take all the free content and the free value. And obviously, want to provide all of that amazing content and value. But what you said there is, spot on, because people are much more likely to take something and act on it if they have invested in it, in themselves, in a coach.
Exactly. I mean, you've got to think about it let's go with animal terminology here because we're both pet people, right? If you're not a pet owner, then I'm sorry, but this analogy still works. You have cats, right? And cats generally are pretty intelligent, i.e. when cats are hungry, they will eat. When they are not hungry, they'll stop. Dogs are not like that. Okay, I can put a bowl of chicken in front of Max and he will eat the bowl of chicken and it will be empty and he'll look at it and go, where's my chicken? And I will go and get him some more chicken and he'll do the same thing. And I could repeat that process 3 or 4 times. Like Max could be clinically obese before he realized, and he still probably wouldn't realize that the chicken is the cause of his problem. It's kind of the same with free content. The more you put in front of people, the more they will consume. Actually, the more they're consuming, the less they're implementing. So what we really need to be doing online is, yes, absolutely giving value, but we need to be nurturing people in a way that says, here is what you can go away and do on your own. Here is the level at which you can action this content, you can go away, you can implement it and get results without falling into a trap, without being, feeling like you've been shortchanged or feeling like you needed more. This is that information. But for the next level, this is what you need. And it is paid. And we need to be a lot less afraid to actually just say some things, and it comes down to setting boundaries, right? Some things are not free. I can't give somebody a major transformation for free because it wouldn't be fair on the clients that are paying me. And that's I think where we've got to in the online space sometimes. We're so worried about the perception of, are we giving enough value? And I hear this, and it's primarily women that I hear it from. Men don't necessarily worry about this as much. But women are very much, should I give more value? How much more can I give? How much more free stuff can I give until I can sell? And the answer is, for every free offer you're putting out there, you should be putting a paid offer out there too. You should be selling every single day in your business, whether it's sending out an email to your email list, offering discovery calls, whether it's going into a Facebook group and offering a paid program, if it's going out onto Instagram and offering a passive product, it doesn't matter what it is. Every single day to some part of your community, you should be offering the next stage in a relationship with you and leading to that paid service.
Absolutely. And I think this has been one of the biggest transformations, certainly in my business. And I can almost, and I think a lot of people who are just starting out will relate to this, that it kind of bumbles along for a while and you don't really know what you're doing. And then all of a sudden something clicks, and then you can really start to see the results and the traction. And I think one of the biggest changes that I've had, certainly in my business, and, I really don't want your head to explode, but it kind of dates from around when you and I first started working together. So take that what you will, listeners, has been this idea of actually, putting paid offers out there and being proud and being confident with that, and not feeling that that makes you spammy or inauthentic, because actually that's what you're there to do. It is a business. You want to provide these transformations for people, and that is the best, most efficient way to do it. Yeah. So it's almost turning the entire thing on its head and saying that rather than selling being a spammy, unnecessary thing, selling is the vital, necessary thing for your clients.
Absolutely. Selling is serving, and this is the thing. Like I see a lot of women, and, in the online space, there are a lot of people who are, and I hesitate to use the term heart-centered, because honestly, it is a term that's so overused, it makes me want to vomit a little bit, but that have that mentality, and I'm one of them, you are another, but for some reason, heart-centered now means, or equates to, poor. If I'm heart-centered, I can't sell. If I'm spiritual, I can't sell, because those things will make me sleazy. Well, sales is what you make of it. If you make it a sleazy, gross experience for your audience, and you're constantly chasing people down and offering them payment plans of $10 a week to, pay off a $5,000 program, yes, you're sleazy. And yes, you're going in for the hard sell. If you overcome every objection with, yes, but, you're sleazy and you're going in for the hard sell. If you make it an empowered decision-making process, and you're actually proud of the offers that you're putting out there, and you think, and you know intrinsically, this offer will help this person get the result that they want if they show up and do the work and all this, the other bits that go into it. But if you intrinsically know that, and you are 100% confident in your offer, in what you do, in your skills, why wouldn't you be talking about it? If you're an excellent runner, you talk about that. You go out and tell everybody, I ran, like you were just saying to me earlier, my brother is very competitive and he runs and he sends me his split times and stuff. If you're good at something, generally we talk about it. If you come up with an amazing life-changing program, it's a bit selfish not to tell people about it. It's a bit selfish to watch your audience continue to struggle and be like, oh, well, they haven't asked me to save them yet. Haven't asked me for my paid offer yet. That's not going to happen. They need you to show up and be the lighthouse and say, hey, I can help you. I'm shining the light. I'm leading you to the offer that's going to change your life. You are the person that needs to come in. You are the person that needs to step up and knock on the door, because I can't do that for you.
Yeah.
But again, you were saying, how would you turn it around? I think that's a really interesting one, because it is much harder. Once you've started down that route of give, the reality is it's actually a simple problem to fix, right? You, instead of giving, you say, I'm going to rein that in, because I realize that actually it's really irresponsible of me to give you tons and tons of content that you can consume but not implement.
Yeah.
And some people really like that, and they'll be like, oh, cool. And you can say, like, I'm going to give you 1 actionable training or 2 actionable trainings a week, or whatever it is that you want to do. And then the rest of the time I expect you to be implementing the stuff, or asking for help elsewhere. And you lose people from your community. I mean, I did this. My Facebook group was value filled for about 6 months. I didn't start off in the best way. I made all of the mistakes in my business. That's why I can turn around and say to people, yeah, don't do that because it doesn't work. But I did that. I trained my audience not to buy. I trained my audience to only accept value. I trained my audience that I would show up in there every single day of the week and I would give them this content. And that was brilliant. What happened though was that it made it very difficult for them to succeed. Effectively, I was setting them up for failure because I was giving them so much that they were consuming, not being able to implement. Whereas when I turned around and said, hey, actually, I have got this wrong, I will give you one thing that you can consume, and then you go away and implement it. And if you need something else, I'll step up, but you have to commit to the process. And that may mean that you have to pay me.
I think it comes back to, this idea of personal responsibility.
Yes.
Everybody has and something we've been talking about in my group actually quite a lot over the past couple of weeks, is that I can show up and I can give them the training and I can give them the value, but it's their personal responsibility what they do with that. And also it's their personal responsibility for their own self-development. And if they need something, if they need some training, and what I absolutely love is that so many people have stepped up and say, yeah, I need help with this, I need help with that. And I love that, because that's exactly the whole point of the community.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think sometimes, like you say, and that when you said about the baby bird thing, it really struck a chord, because we are essentially abdicating, by giving over too much, we're abdicating their responsibility in their own development. And that is not beneficial for anybody at all.
But that's the thing, ultimately, when we treat people, when we give people that baby bird syndrome, we let them continue that cycle.
Yeah.
It doesn't help them. We're just giving them a ton of things that they're not going to do anything with. And then we also give them a route to blame. They're like, oh, well, I watched all of Jess's trainings, or I watched all of Hannah's webinars and I didn't get anywhere. So it's Jess's and Hannah's fault. It's not mine, because I watched the webinar, I watched the training. And it's like, well, that's not how it works. In order to make something work, you've got to go out and do the actual steps required.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, is, and this is a particular bugbear of mine, is that you cannot expect people to invest in you if you won't. And I've said this before in the online world, and, sometimes people really like it, and other times people send me hate mail. So if you don't like it, please don't send me hate mail. I have no time for that. But the premise of it is not, you have to buy all of my stuff, because honestly, I don't care whether you're buying from me or whether you're buying from somebody else. The point is, you have to invest in you. You are the primary person in your business. You are the person who is responsible for making the business successful, right? And keeping it successful, and making sure that it helps impact the world and pay other people and all of that good stuff. So if you refuse to invest in your business in any way, money, time, energy, please don't expect other people to invest theirs in you. If you refuse to spend money on your business, other people will not spend money on yours. If you refuse to spend time and energy growing your business, delivering to your clients, giving value, showing up, doing all of the required steps, people will not do that for you. Now, you can call it energy, you can call it woo, you can call it whatever you want, but I always say it's like a mirror, in sales, and that is what it is. If you aren't prepared to invest in yourself, if you aren't prepared to step up and say, hey, I'm running this business, I'm taking it really seriously, or I want to learn about self-development, and I actually want to make sure that I make the commitment, that I don't just run away and kind of do whatever I want, paying makes it easier. Actually investing in something will make it a lot easier for you to go through with the hard work. Because when you are paying for something, you show up. I hate fitness. I really, really, really hate fitness. I've hired a personal trainer. I've spent however much, I think it's £250 a month on a personal trainer. And honestly, I've been to every session. I had bronchitis and I was like, no, I'm going to drag myself there. And I mean, I got there and he was like, go home. You look disgusting. Like, there is something wrong with you. But I went because I was committed, because I had committed financially to making myself the fittest possible version of myself within a specific time frame. If you want to learn about personal development or sales or marketing or business building, yes, you can do it on your own. Yes, you can do it with free content, but do not then be surprised when your audience do the same. Because what are you telling them? What are you showing them? You're never saying, oh, I've invested in this mentor, or I've invested in this course, or I've invested in this software, or whatever it is that is going to take me and my growth to the next level. So why would they? We learn from the behaviors around us. We learn from the people that we are closest to and that we associate with. All of my friends who are all my biz besties are people who invest in themselves consistently. They're not out there buying every course on the market, and they're not necessarily the people who spend the most on it, but they are investing in themselves consistently. They're investing in the right opportunities for them and their business. And as a result, the investments that I make now that would have terrified me a year ago or 3 years ago, I wouldn't have even thought about, I'm now making, and I'm looking at them as just that. This is an investment into my future. I'm investing in the key kind of cog in my business. And what that will do is have a direct impact on the money that comes into the business, the impact that we're able to make on more people as a result. The list kind of goes on.
I think it's a really key point about investing in yourself. And certainly, so much of what you're saying, it kind of resonates with me so much, and I know it will resonate with a lot of other relatively new entrepreneurs, and even people who've been doing it for a while. Because you do go through dips and lulls within your business, and sometimes what you really need is to actually kind of almost put some faith back in yourself. And investing is such a wonderful way to do that, and that's what I've personally found. That it's almost like, well, like you say, if I don't believe in me, why on earth is anyone else going to? Whereas as soon as you invest in yourself, it's like sending a signal to yourself, hang on a second, you can do this. You are worth investing in. You're worth taking this time, this energy, this money to make this work and to make yourself the best version of whatever it is you need to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do it in every other area of our lives. This is what people don't see. If you work for a corporate company, they spend thousands on your learning and development. And when you leave that company, they've just lost thousands of pounds and time and energy, in training you and educating you and helping you operate in the way that they want you to, so that you can perform at your peak. Yet people come into their business and they don't want to do the same thing. Now it doesn't mean go and grab every shiny object on the market. It doesn't mean invest in every single course you see or every single coach, right? Do your due diligence, look at what you actually need and invest in the right things at the right time. But it is key that you actually step up and make the investment. Yes, it can be time and energy. That's fine. It is going to take you longer. In some cases, time and energy is what you need. If you need to learn a new piece of software, suck it up. Right? You've got to do it, and it's going to take you time and energy and a lot of coffee and probably a lot of frustration, and that's fine. Ultimately, if it's about, growing and scaling yourself, your business, any aspect of your life, and you're not investing in it the same way that a corporate company would invest in you, in my mind, that's letting yourself down. That really is. And again, it's not that you have to go out and invest in the 5-figure program or the 6-figure coach, right? You invest at the level that is right for you. You make the investment that's right for you, but damn straight, you actually have to make an investment.
Absolutely.
Does that help answer your question?
It really does. It really does. And I think it's just, like you talk about, like, learn from my mistakes, don't do what I did, because I did it. And I'm exactly the same. I think that this question came out of I'm not going to call it a mistake, because it's a learning journey, and we all have to try things in our business, and some things work out and some things don't, and that's the nature of the beast. And once you sort of get okay with that, I think that's when you can really power forward. But this is something that I think I certainly struggled with for a period of time, and it was only when you said that to me about your audience aren't trained to buy from you that it was like, well, ding.
Right. Sometimes you just need it pointed out, and if you are somebody who's thinking, oh, well, when do I sell to my audience? Every day. They're opting in for something. Put an upsell in your email sequence. If they're in your Facebook group, you should be making offers to your Facebook group like once or twice a week. The same offer, right? You don't have to offer a different offer every time, but you should be putting these things out there. You should be offering discovery calls. You should be asking people to get on the phone with you, and you should be doing proactive outreach and things like that. People think these things are sleazy. The actual activities themselves are not. The way you do it can be, right? The execution can always go a bit tits up, for want of a better phrase. But ultimately, it's a learning curve. If you don't ever do it, you'll never know how it could have worked out. And you are probably losing out on many, many sales, because actually your audience, there will be parts of your audience that do want to buy, but you're just not offering them anything. They don't know how, and that's the thing. People take it really personally. People haven't jumped on my latest offer. Nobody's booking this program, whatever. The reality is, are we selling it? Are we actually talking about it every day? Are we on the newsfeed? Are we talking about it, being really proud of it, talking about the transformation that we can give people, asking people questions as to why they're not buying it, which is terrifying but massively useful? Only then can we say that we tried. Because putting up one Facebook post and being like, oh, please buy this thing, hopefully, maybe, is not selling. It's just, it's really sad for me to see, because that is when I look at people and I think you could be serving your audience at a much higher level, but you don't want to put your belief in you. That's what those posts are to me.
Yeah. And I think, like you say, it is quite telling. It's almost like, what are your sales practices saying about how you feel about yourself?
Yeah,
I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would make a great blog.
I said it first. It's mine.
If anyone sees Hannah's new article in Huffington Post, you know where that's born from. But seriously, I think it's absolutely that. There are lots of things that tell us how we are and who we are. My personal trainer was saying to me the other day, he was like, oh, I know you've lost weight. And I said, how? Because, I didn't realize he had X-ray vision. But he was like, you're putting your hands on your hips. He was like, people who've lost weight put their hands on their hips in the gym, because then people see that their waist has got smaller. I would never, ever have thought about it. But he spends like 8 hours a day in a gym surrounded by people who want to achieve that. How you sell is going to be directly reflective of how you really feel about your business. See?
Yeah, that's an awesome point.
You can even use that. You can use that example if you want for your blog.
Jess approved.
My friend Jess has a personal trainer. And this is what he said after years of research. But it is that kind of thing. Ultimately, how you sell is definitely going to be a direct reflection of how you feel about your business. And equally, so is how you invest. If you never invest in your business, if you never commit to anything, if you are, oh, I'm going to start this project and then kind of never promote it because I'm concerned about it or worried, it's not the selling that's sleazy. It's not the selling that's wrong. It's how you feel. And you need to change that. You need to put something in place that helps you normalize the sales practice, that helps you feel better about the way that you're asking other people to enroll in your programs, than focusing on, no, I'll just give up. Because really, even if you go out there and you sell to the absolute hilt and you sell nothing, you've still won in my eyes. You've still done the work. You've still understood. You can still debrief and understand where you've gone wrong. If you never put it out there and you see it as a failure, well, it's not a failure because you didn't even give it a chance to win. Amazing. Oh, I say amazing about the coaching. Jesus. Like, wow.
See, I shouldn't have said that earlier. I knew your head was going to explode.
I was like, won't be able to get out of my door. Oh, dear. But where can people find you? Because obviously mindset's a huge thing, as we've explored today. Everything does come back to how do you feel, and where can people find you so that they can explore their own self-development?
So we've got an amazing Facebook community, which we've just gone through an incredible process of getting really specific about who's going to be in there and the idea of taking action. So my Facebook community is the Master Your Success Mindset Facebook community with me.
Awesome.
Bit of a mouthful, but I do, I like words. I'm a little bit wordy. So, we do regular trainings on mindset, really supportive community. And I say, it's really focused on the action. It's really focused on taking all of those mindset woo-woo practices and saying, okay, that's all very well and good. Let's all get fluffy and understand what's going on and understand our limiting beliefs. But let's then actually take that and do something about it.
Exactly. Let's get shit done, people.
Exactly.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on today.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So anyway, guys, join us on Monday. I'll be back with episode 7. It's pretty juicy, if I do say so myself. So make sure that you tune in. And if you have enjoyed the episode with Hannah, please obviously go and seek Hannah out. Go and talk to her about cats, marathon running, mindset. There are many, many topics you can cover. Visit her Facebook group. And if you've enjoyed it, obviously, please make sure that you subscribe so that you get the next episode directly into your inbox from good old iTunes or Stitcher, whatever you're using. And leave us a review. Let us know how we're getting on. Let us know how it was for you. We'll see you in the next episode.